I'm Camila. Standing at the head of the conference table on the 42nd floor of Carter Tower, I looked around at the shocked faces. My uncle, Henry, sat there with his head in his hands, his once charismatic demeanor shattered. My cousin, Jake, paced around the room, his fists clenched in anger. Just moments ago, I'd dropped a bombshell. I, Camila Carter, owned 67% of Carter Enterprises, the majority stake in our family business. As I recalled the events that led to this moment, my mind wandered back to 3 years ago. My father, Robert Carter, a visionary and the heart of Carter Enterprises, had passed away. His death left a void in the company and in our family. Henry, my father's younger brother, wasted no time seizing the opportunity. He stepped into the role of CEO, claiming it was his right as family and that he could expand the company's legacy. At 25 years old, I was still finding my footing in the business, working as an associate in the marketing department. Fast forward to today. The conference room was filled with the board members, and Henry was in full swing presenting a proposed merger with Sterling Industries. This merger, he said, his eyes alight with excitement, is a $200 million opportunity. Robert would have wanted us to take bold steps. I sat quietly in the corner, the seat reserved for non-voting observers. I'd long ago learned to keep my emotions in check, showing weakness only gave my uncle and cousin an edge. Henry continued, Sterling gets 40% of Carter Enterprises in exchange for their vast distribution network and international contacts. We'll expand into 5 new markets and double our revenue in 5 years. Board members like Mrs. Thompson nodded enthusiastically. Your leadership has really turned things around, Henry, she said, pausing slightly and looking at me uncomfortably. Since Robert's passing. Mr. Davis, the company's CFO and a long-time confidant of my father, interrupted. What about Camila? She holds shares, too. The room temperature seemed to drop. Henry's smile didn't falter on the surface, but his eyes hardened. Camila holds a symbolic 5%, he said. A gesture from Robert to make her feel included. But let's be clear. This is a family business, built by my grandfather from the ground up. It's about blood and legacy. I quietly replied, I'm Dad's daughter. Henry scoffed. You were adopted at 8 years old, Camila. After Robert and Elizabeth couldn't have biological children, they gave you a home. But you're not a Carter by blood. When it comes to critical business decisions, it should stay with those who understand the true meaning of this company. Jake chimed in, Dad and I have been running the company for 3 years. You're still making marketing presentations. Maybe stick to what you're good at, cousin. His use of the word cousin was laced with disdain, making it clear he didn't consider me part of the family in the business sense. When the discussion turned to a formal vote, I asked to review the full terms with my legal counsel. Henry exploded. This isn't a family therapy session. Gallagher's board meets next week. If we don't approve today, we lose the opportunity. Your 5% doesn't get to hold the company hostage. I remained calm. I'm exercising my right as a shareholder, I said. Just then, the conference room door opened. My lawyer, Miss Harris, a woman in her 60s with a no-nonsense attitude and 40 years of corporate law under her belt, walked in with a leather briefcase. Behind her were Mr. Clark from a top M&A firm and an observer from the Securities and Exchange Commission. Good afternoon, Miss Harris said. I'm representing Camila Carter. Given the size and structure of this merger, we're here to ensure proper procedure. Henry's face turned pale as the observer explained their right to oversee the vote due to the company's corporate bonds on the open market. Ms. Harris then pulled out the shareholder registry. Mr. Carter, you claim to control 51% of the company's shares with your son, correct? Henry nodded impatiently. She continued, but did you ever review the complete registry? In 2015, you sold 25% of your stake for a high-risk real estate investment in Nevada. It failed, and those shares were sold to cover your debt. Robert bought them, but they were placed in a trust for Camila. Jake stood up, shouting, "This can't be true, Dad." But Ms. Harris wasn't finished. "Jake, you hold 8% inherited from your mother. That means you two control only 26% combined. And your sister, Sarah, only holds 6% now because 4% was transferred to charity last year." The revelation was like a thunderbolt in the room. Mr. Davis's eyes widened in surprise, while Mrs. Thompson looked on in shock. Ms. Harris then laid the final document on the table. Camila Carter holds 67% of Carter Enterprises. She is the majority shareholder and the ultimate decision maker on this merger. As Henry and Jake stared at the paper in disbelief, I stood up and walked to the front of the table. "Let me tell you about legacy," I said. After Mom died, Dad started to think differently. He realized that family isn't defined by blood but by love and commitment. He spent years buying shares from those who left and put them in a trust that matured on my 28th birthday, 6 months ago. I turned to Jake. "I worked in marketing at an associate level because I wanted to learn the business from the ground up. While you were being complacent during board meetings, I was learning what our customers really want." Then I looked at my Aunt Sarah. "You knew, didn't you?" She nodded, tears in her eyes. "Robert made me promise not to say anything until the trust matured. He wanted you to grow without Henry's interference and to see if Henry would run the company for its good." I addressed the board. "The merger with Sterling Industries is rejected. The terms are unfavorable, and the international contacts they're offering are outdated. Over the past 6 months, I've analyzed every decision Henry has made as CEO. He cut quality control, outsourced key manufacturing, and underpaid staff to boost short-term revenue. Our net profit is up 12%, but we've had 2 product recalls, and customer satisfaction has dropped by 25 points. Henry stood up, shouting, "You can't fire me. I'm family." I replied calmly, "You've spent the last half hour saying I'm not really family. By your own logic, it's just business. Effective immediately, I'm taking over as CEO. Henry, you're moved to a senior advisor, non-voting position. Jake, your role is under review pending an audit of your projects over the past 3 years. Sarah, I hope you'll stay on the board." Sarah nodded, saying, "Robert would be so proud of you, Camila." Mr. Davis smiled broadly. "It'll be like working with Robert again, setting up new protocols and focusing on sustainable growth rather than quick profits." The SEC observer stood up. "Ms. Carter, you'll need to file the appropriate change of control notifications with our office within 10 days. Ms. Harris promptly handed her a folder. "It's already prepared, along with the updated corporate structure." As the meeting ended and the room gradually emptied, Henry looked at me with a mix of anger and regret. "You planned this all along." I shook my head. "I just gave you the chance to treat me with respect. You chose to talk about blood and legacy in a way that excluded me. Now, I'm taking responsibility for Dad's company. Legacy isn't about blood, it's about who has the vision and commitment to carry it forward. And Dad chose me." Walking out of the conference room, I heard Sarah say to Henry, "She's more Robert's daughter than you'll ever be his brother." I took a deep breath and headed to the elevator. Tomorrow, the real work of rebuilding Carter Enterprises would begin, but today, I'd proven that love and dedication are the true foundations of legacy.